Good morning. It is an honor to be able to speak with you today, and I want to thank Lori Sakai, Laura Lynn, and the Diaconate Board for this opportunity. I just hope I have something worthwhile to impart to you all. When I expressed this concern to Pastor Obenauer a few weeks ago, that I was afraid I didn't have a very interesting story to tell, he assured me that everyone feels that way, and that people always find your story more interesting than you do. Well, we'll put that to the test this morning. I'll start off by saying I never thought I'd be here. Speaking out of the pulpit, do we call this a pulpit here? In front of a full church on a Sunday morning about religious, spiritual matters. You see, I was raised a Catholic. And while I have mostly favorable memories of church as a kid, it wasn't the kind of experience that generated a great deal of spiritual inspiration. It seemed to me the focus was more on learning what the church tells you to believe and how to express that belief, which was okay for a while. But as I got older, I began to have questions that church doctrine couldn't answer, or more precisely, questions that were raised by the church doctrine itself. I imagine there are a few of you in the audience today who know what I am talking about. Let me give you one example that sticks in my mind with me today. We were taught that if you did not accept Jesus Christ as your personal Savior, as the only Son of God, then you were going to hell. And hell did not sound like a very good place, especially when you try to tie in the concept of the whole infinity thing. It just was not where you wanted to go. Definitely not a choice I wanted to make. At a young age, I understood the concept of having a choice and paying the consequences for whatever choice you make. The part that got me was, what about the people who had never heard of Jesus? People in Africa or in other places. Were they just automatically consigned to the bad place? That just didn't sound like God to me. There were other questions too. So many, in fact, that when I went off to college and going to church became an optional exercise, I simply decided not to go. I adopted the too cool for church mentality. I knew better. I had pierced the veil. Based on my limited experience as a Catholic, I saw religion, at least organized religion, for what it was. At best, an opiate for the masses. At worst, a conspiracy to fleece the weak of their hard-earned money. Now, it's hard for me to say those words today, and I realize they sound somewhat comical in this atmosphere. But if I'm honest with myself, that's about where I was coming from in my 20s. And then something happened. I had no great health struggle, no particularly difficult challenges, but as I struck out on my own, as I began to make my way in the world, I began to feel an emptiness. Not marked at first, and certainly nothing I could put my finger on. But there seemed to be something missing from my life. I was a little slow, but eventually it dawned on me what was missing was a sense of purpose and meaning. And thus began my real journey. Or maybe I had always been on it and just didn't know. In any event, I began to actively seek out spiritual guidance. I started reading religious texts of various stripes and flavors. I went to lectures. Marianne Williamson and A Course in Miracles have had an enormous impact on my life. I started seeing clues everywhere I looked. Even the lyrics of the music I loved took on new meaning and relevancy. Not just giving voice to the searching, but a way of seeing the world that made sense, that put things into a context that made sense, at least to me. I was looking through a different prism, and a new world was taking shape. Once in a while, you can get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. The Grateful Dead. Go back and check it out. There's great wisdom there. And I want to pause here to thank my wife, Paula, for joining me on this journey. For more than that, for actively pushing us, leading us down paths I would never have taken on my own. And my kids, Ellie and Ethan, who have taught me more than I will ever be able to teach them, I'm afraid. Together, we have been on the road to find out. And that road has been fun and exciting and full of ups and downs that have made my life infinitely more rewarding. What I've found on this journey is that there is a universal source of energy. There is a greater power, a light, that suffuses this world and our lives. And if we are open to it and align our own thoughts and actions with that energy, for argument's sake, let's call it God, then we can create for ourselves lives of great joy and meaning in a world of peace and kindness. That's what I believe. That's not what anybody told me I had to believe. That's what I believe. And that's what this church means to me. A place where I can come with my own set of beliefs and still be accepted. A place where I have the freedom to pursue my spiritual path on my own terms. Where I can gain sustenance for the journey and guidance from a thoughtful and wise pastoral staff with the support of a community of generous, open-minded fellow travelers. Folks, we have a very special place here. Let us never forget that, and let us not fall into the trap of taking it for granted. Thank you.